What's going on YouTube? Today I bring you my number 14 power rank team for the 2021 NFL season. And as by the title that you saw, that is the New England Patriots. The Patriots are a team that people, I feel like, underrate a bit. You know, you have to remember who's coaching this team. Look at the team that Bill Belichick had last year. I mean, he had Cam Newton, who played pretty bad, especially as a passer. Look at what he did with that. He went 7-9 with that team. And I mean, we'll go over the upgrades obviously in this video, but like this team, it's set to compete. So without further ado, let's get into it. Starting off the receiver position, this is easily, one of the weaker positions on the team, and it's really not that horrible. Nelson Agholor was really, really good for the Raiders last year, actually. He's had some drop issues in the past, but Agholor's a fantastic receiver. He was a fantastic receiver last year for the Raiders, so we'll see if he can kind of repeat that same kind of production, because if he can, I mean, that's actually a really genius signing on Bill Belichick's part. And a great receiver to get for Newton or Jones, whoever starts. Your number 2 is probably going to be Kendrick Bourne, who was fine at times for the 49ers. He's not the best receiver in the world. That's, it's kind of after that first one. Again, if Agholor even plays up to par, there's just not a lot here. Jacoby Myers, same case with him. He's fine. He's, not... He'll do fine as a starting receiver, not someone you'd, optionally want. And there's some decent depth beyond there. I mean, N'Keal Harry has been pretty bad so far. Definitely not worth the first pick, and the Patriots have kind of failed to develop him. He's asked for a trade. Matthew Slater, I mean, is whatever. Gunnar Olszewski, I believe is how you say it, is a really good punt returner, but as a receiver himself, I mean, it's whatever. Not just punt returner, he's a good kick returner in general. And beyond that, there's not really anyone else to talk about. Marvin Hall, I guess, but Trey Nixon, I wasn't a big fan of coming out. But, this receiving room, it could definitely be much better. If Agholor plays like he did last year with Vegas, that's fantastic. Obviously, it makes this receiver core a lot better. But if he doesn't, you're really lacking in not only starters but also depth here. So, unfortunately, this is a pretty poor room for the Patriots. So it is going to get a D. It's pretty bad. It's not the worst, but it's pretty bad. It's all up from here, though, because the offensive line is fantastic. At left tackle, you've got Isaiah Wynn, who's been really solid since his rookie year. Behind him, a very good backup in Justin Herron. So you got yourself a really good duo right there. Isaiah Wynn, one of the better starters in the NFL. So, yeah, great for them to have there. And, again, a pretty good backup as well. So that's going to be an A- for you. At left guard, you have Michael Onwenu moving over here, who was fantastic in his rookie year. What a great find by the Patriots. Behind him, no idea who William Sherman is personally, but Alex Redmond is a fine enough backup to Onwenu, so that's, again, another pretty good duo there. They're definitely not as good a duo as, like, Wynn and Herron, but still a very good young, well, at least with Onwenu, very young duo with a ton of upside still. I definitely don't think he's reached his potential yet, so that's going to be a B. Right there. At the center position, David Andrews coming back here with the Patriots. Great re-signing by them. Bringing back Ted Karras over, who went to Miami for a year and now comes back. As a starter, he's whatever, but as a backup, he's a really good backup to have. And again, David Andrews, one of the better centers in the NFL. So once again, you have a really good duo here. That's also going to be an A-. The right guard room, Shaq Mason, great guard. Not really anyone behind him this time, but still a great guard to have, and so that's going to get you a B. And then at the right tackle position, they brought in Trent Brown. Really nice trade on their part. I'm pretty sure they only gave up a 5th-round pick, which, regardless of whether he's been dealing with injuries and stuff, a 5th-round pick for at least still a serviceable starting tackle is a good trade. No one behind him, but Trent Brown, if kind of gets over those injuries and stuff, again, a really nice tackle to have there, especially with the rest of the line. And for only a 5th-round pick, that would be tremendous value. So all in all, I mean, this offensive line is really impressive. I mean, at 3 of the positions, you have really good backups, and you've got a serviceable, at the very worst, starter at every position. And some of these guys are, some of the better starters in the NFL. and a couple of which definitely have yet to reach their potential. So this is a fantastic offensive line for the Patriots. It definitely helps out both Cam Newton and Mac Jones. So yeah, that's great to have there. Great offensive line. The tight end position, this was one of the positions they majorly upgraded, bringing in Hunter Henry and Jonnu Smith on some big contracts. Hunter Henry, I loved the signing. Jonnu Smith, not as much. He's a bit more of a fantasy tight end and not much else than that to me. But Hunter Henry, though, fantastic tight end. I think he fits this Patriots offense really nicely. I actually predicted him to go to the Patriots in my free agency prediction video because I did love the fit so much here. And they pulled the trigger on that. And not to mention, now you have some of the best depth in the entire NFL. I mean, they picked up Dalton Keene, who's going to start on PUP, but Dalton Keene and Devin Asiasi, who as backups are pretty solid to have. And you also have Matt Lacoste and Troy Fumagalli still back there on that depth chart. So not only do you have maybe the best tight end duo in the NFL, but you also have such incredible young depth behind them. This is a very impressive room. I can't quite give it an A+ because you don't have yourself a Kels or a Waller or a Kittle, but that's an A room right there. That's a very, very good room. Quarterback. So this is where we get into it. Cam Newton was not very good last year. You have your Cam Newton defenders. You have your Cam Newton haters. I'm kind of right in the middle. He was not very good, but he was not god awful. He made it for most of his team's touchdowns. I just saw that stat, but at the same time, it's because he was running it himself so much because he couldn't pass. So, I mean, yeah, it makes sense, to be honest. I still don't think he's very good. I think Bill Belichick pretty nicely and quickly adjusted to fit the play style of Cam Newton, which was good for them. I still do think Cam Newton's going to be the starter heading into the season, but I could definitely see Mac Jones taking over really at any point during the season. In talking about Mac Jones, I was a big Mac Jones defender for a long time out of Alabama. I was one of the first people that started having him go in like the top 15 and stuff. I even had him as high as like number 9 and stuff to the Broncos. For a while, people just did not want to accept Mac Jones as a top 15 player. And obviously he would go on to be a top 15 player. I think, he for sure has a lower ceiling than a lot of these quarterbacks in this class. I mean, obviously Trevor Lawrence, Zach Wilson, Justin Fields, Trey Lance, they all have way higher ceilings than him. I get that. At the same time, Mac Jones has a much higher floor than those guys. He's just a much safer prospect, and I think that's kind of what this Patriots team needed, was that Tom Brady-esque guy that can sit in the pocket, can deliver the throws, reads the field extremely well. I was saying this, but Mac Jones is pretty much the best, the best field reader you're going to get coming out of college, and that's exactly what this offense needs, in my opinion. I think Cam Newton is good, and Bill Belichick did a fantastic job adjusting to that as quickly as he did, but Mac Jones is the quarterback that this offense needs. And so, I think, maybe they would have fared a bit better if they traded up and got themselves a Justin Fields or something. But at the same time, Mac Jones is exactly what this offense needs. I think, you don't need some high ceiling quarterback for this team. You just need a guy that can go in there and get the job done. That's why I thought Mac Jones would have been such a great pick to the Broncos or Washington, because you know what you're getting. And I think he can be a top 15 quarterback. And that's really all some of these teams need. The Patriots was one of those teams, so I really liked the pickup. And then behind him, Jarrett Stidham and Brian Hoyer. Stidham's on PUP, I guess, but he's whatever. Brian Hoyer has been a long time backup for these Patriots. So you have not the best starter in the world right now. You have a quarterback that doesn't have the highest ceiling, but at the same time, I think he's exactly what they need. And 2 decent 3 and 4s. I mean, as your 3 and 4, I guess they're pretty good. This quarterback room for right now is going to get a C-, mostly because, again, I think Mac Jones I think it's what they need. And so I really like him as the future of this Patriots team. So Yeah, it's going to be a C minus for me there. And then the running back room. This is also a very deep running back room. I mean, headlining it, I know a lot of people really love Damien Harris. I don't know if he'll be starting week 1. I feel like that's probably still going to be James White. But the number 2 will probably be Damien Harris. Yeah, I mean, Bill Belichick was using Harris a lot last year. And that's kind of just what Bill Belichick likes to do. I mean, it's like every couple years he finds himself a new running back to be his new guy. It was James White for a couple years, and now it looks to be Damien Harris. So you have those two who makes up a really nice duo there, and then some great depth behind them. Sony Michel, who's great to have. They picked up Ramondre Stevenson, who I wasn't a big fan of because he's just basically a bruiser back, and he literally can't do anything else. And at that, he's not the best bruiser back in the world. So I actually wasn't a big fan of that pick, but we'll have to see. I mean, that's kind of the Patriots thing, is they develop players so they can pretty much make anyone good. And then Brandon Bolden kind of as your 5 is a fantastic 5. This is a very, very, very deep running back room. It's probably the deepest running back room in the entire league, actually. And that's just because, again, Bill Belichick loves to cycle his guys in and out so much. You never know who could be his next big guy. I mean, who knows? Maybe he'll use Damien Harris for the next 2 years, and then their number 1's going to be Stevenson after that. Who knows? Regardless, you make up a pretty nice duo here, but you have one of the deepest, if not the deepest rooms in the NFL. So that's going to get you a B+. All in all, this offense, it has its pieces. It definitely has its talent. Mac Jones, how well does he play year 1? We'll have to see. I think, besides Trevor Lawrence, he probably actually could play like the second best quarterback in this class this year, just because, again, he's such a NFL-ready guy. I mean, again, you're not going to get much better, readiness from a player than Mac Jones, and just in the terms of what he does. He's extremely good at it already. So, and obviously there's still the chance that Bill Belichick is able to develop Mac Jones. I'm not going to say into the next Brady, but could definitely develop him into like a top 10 quarterback. Getting some receiver help would for sure help with that. So I think, they could still be leaning pretty heavy on the run game, especially if Aguilar doesn't return to his former self. But overall, this is an offense that, the offensive line is fantastic, which obviously helps everyone out. That's a big reason why I have some teams lower, like the Steelers and stuff, because their offensive lines are not even close to this. So, yeah, I mean, with this offense, I really like it. Just a few pieces missing, obviously. The offense, it's the X factor. The defense, on the other hand, I mean, we know what we're getting, and it's a fantastic defense. They have it set up really weird here for some reason. It's like linebacker to DN to tackle. That's a weird setup. But regardless, we'll just go as per normal, just down the list. So one outside linebacker room, Matt Judon bringing in from Baltimore. At first I didn't like the signing. Matthew Judon's a very scheme-specific guy. And I wasn't really sure if he'd fit that well in the Patriots defense. And then I remembered, wait, Bill Belichick's his coach. So, I mean, scheme doesn't really matter. Matt Judon, bringing him in, that was a great choice. Getting a nice pass rusher there for you. And behind him, Efreni Jennings, who has been solid at times. He's just a nice young guy to have behind Judon. That makes up a pretty nice duo there. So that's going to get you a B. At the other outside linebacker room, Kyle Van Noy, bringing him back from Miami once again. Behind him, you're probably going to have Ronnie Perkins as your number 2 over there. Once again, just a really nice duo here. I mean, a guy that I think, and Perkins, a guy that I think fits the scheme really nicely. And again, Bill Belichick could definitely develop him a lot. And Van Noy just, again, also fits the scheme pretty well. He knows the Patriots, just their ways and stuff. So he's a very familiar player, pretty nice guy to have back. So once again, also going to be a B+ just because it's a really nice duo here. At the defensive tackle position, sorry, we're going a little weird, but at the defensive tackle position, headlining it, probably going to be Christian Barmore. They have him as like a 3 here. I don't think that's going to happen. I feel like Christian Barmore's probably going to be starting day 1. Christian Barmore was fantastic at Alabama. I have no idea. I still have absolutely no idea why he fell in the draft. And it was a fantastic pickup for the Patriots. The dude is dominant. He had the highest pass rush grade of all pass rushers. That includes DNs, outside linebackers. He had the highest pass rush grade average of his last 2 years there at college. So I have no idea what he fell out of the first round. Either way, it was a fantastic pickup by the Patriots. I think he fits the scheme really nicely, and I imagine he'll be starting for them. Your number 2 probably is going to be Devon Godchucks. Once again, coming back over from Miami. He's just a really solid defensive tackle there, more of a better run blocker than anything. And then behind him, not really anyone to talk about. Montrevious Adams coming from Green Bay is whatever. But you do have 2 really solid defensive tackles there. And since they're a 3-4 team, you're only running 1. So you have a really solid backup and a very solid young starter right now. So, that's a really good defensive tackle room as well. That's going to be a B+ for right now as well. One defensive end room. Lawrence Guy, I mean, you could have Dietrich Wise starting here. I mean, I liked that pickup personally, but either way, whichever one you start, I like both of them. Once again, makes up a really solid duo here, so that's going to be a B- just because they're not as good, but a B- nonetheless. And the other defensive end room, Henry Anderson over from the Jets was a solid pickup as well. Once again, just a lot of solid players on this defense, especially this pass rush. And Henry Anderson, another one of those. He's probably the weakest pass rusher on this starting, front 5. But regardless, I mean, he's still solid to Sean Bowser, whatever is backup. So it's the weakest room. I mean, it's going to get you a C+. But I mean, this pass rush is good. I mean, you have solid starters at every single position on this front 5, and a lot of really solid, really young guys behind all of them. So that's a very impressive pass rush there. We didn't even talk about Chase Winovich, who's on the PUP, but he's more of a defensive end to me. So actually, if you throw Chase Winovich in there as I'd imagine he'd actually probably be starting over Henry Anderson once he gets off the PUP. Winovich is actually a really solid starter as well, so that would bump that up to a B- also. You have a very, very good front 5 here, and every single position has a very solid backup as well. So that's a very good pass rush there for the Patriots. At linebacker, Dante Hightower coming back from opting out last year. Well, that was something else too that I even talked about. Bill Belichick had most of his team hurt or opted out last year too. So getting a guy like Dante Hightower, who is still a top 15 linebacker back, is great to have, obviously. Jawan Bentley was fantastic at times for the Patriots, as was Josh Uche, I believe is how you say it. So that was a fantastic pickup. I'm a big fan of Raekwon McMillan in this defensive scheme. I think he's also another really solid pickup for this Patriots team. Harvey Lange is a solid enough guy, and they picked up Cameron McGrone out of Michigan, who once again I feel like is a perfect fit in this defense. You have a linebacking room that's probably the deepest linebacker room in the NFL, and it does have some solid starters as well. So this is going to be an A. This is a very good, very deep linebacker room. At cornerback, it just doesn't stop for this defense. I mean, this defense is impressive. At the cornerback position, Stephon Gilmore headlining it, obviously. There's some trade rumors going around right now. As of right now, he's on the team. Stephon Gilmore still a top 5 cornerback in the NFL. He's not as good as his Defensive Player of the Year campaign, but he is still a very, very solid shutdown corner. Besides him, J.C. Jackson, a really nice young up-and-coming cornerback who they got to figure out some contract details with him, but still, again, he's on the team for this year. Very impressive corner. Then you have Jonathan Jones, who's one of the best slot corners in the NFL. He's fantastic to have, obviously. Now, after that, the depth is definitely lacking. Jalen Mills is a safety, not a corner. Diversion, I mean, whatever. Fun name there. But yeah, so I mean, you have a very, very, very good starting 3 here. It's just the depth is kind of lacking afterwards, but the starting 3 cannot be, ignored because of the depth. So that is also going to be an A right there. That is a very good corner room there. At the free safety position, Devin McCourty, still a top safety in the game. He is still, shut down most of the time. He's getting up there in age a little bit, but still a very good safety. Behind him, you probably have Jalen Mills, who is a really serviceable enough backup, especially as a backup. He's definitely solid. And then they picked up Joshua Bledsoe, who I'm not as big a fan of, but once again, can definitely be developed under Bill Belichick. So it's a pretty solid room. I mean, you have one of the better starters, and then probably a really good backup there with Jalen Mills. So that's going to be an A as well. And then at the other safety position, I would like Kyle Duggar to step up and be the starter day one. But I mean, if you have to start Adrian Phillips, like I guess whatever. But either way, I mean, you're going to have a fine enough starter. But I do think Kyle Duggar has a lot of potential. He could be kind of that next great Patriot defensive back. I mean, just like not great, but just he could be that next good defensive back for the Patriots. And then Adrian Colbert behind them is just he's a pretty solid number 3. So overall, you have a bunch of kind of solid guys right now. One with a bit of potential. So it's going to get you a C for right now. But I mean, this defense. There's not a hole. I mean, because even this one safety position, it's not a hole. This defense, it's good. Like I said, I mean, obviously the X factor is the offense. Before that, though, let's get on to the special teams. Nick Folk is your kicker, whatever. Jake Bailey is your punter, whatever. And your kick returner, though, Gunner is one of the better kick returners in the NFL, so that's really nice to have, obviously. Special teams itself is also really good for these Patriots. They're just a very well-coached team, obviously. We'll get more to that in a second. But, yeah, so overall, if you look at this team, the defense is absolutely stacked and elite. The special teams is really good. It's about the offense, for sure. I think Mac Jones will get it done for these Patriots. I just don't know if that's this year. Either way, though, I think this team is filled to the brim with talent. Wide receiver could be better, yes, but it helps when you have one of the best offensive lines and one of the deepest running back rooms. So all in all, there's a lot to love about this team. It's a bit too much for me to put them any higher than this right now, but I do have them technically as a playoff team here at number 14. But let's go talk about their coaching culture and schedule now. And taking a look here at their schedule, it's not the most difficult in the world. I mean, there are some tough games here, but it's also not the easiest in the world. I mean, you have some of the easier games, obviously. I mean, the Jets, the Dolphins could be, at home. The Texans, the Jets again, Panthers, Jaguars, the Falcons. But there are also some very tough games here as well, obviously. I mean, the Buccaneers, Bills, and Browns. Bills twice, and then the Browns. Yeah, I mean, those are going to be very tough games, and there are some games here that are going to be tough regardless. I mean, again, like the divisional games will always be tough. I mean, Tennessee's going to put up quite a fight. The Colts. So yeah, I mean, there are some easy games. There are definitely also some very difficult games. So I think that's something interesting too, is that this is a team that very much feels like a middle road team to me, but there are some things that really push it over of being a middle road team for me. And number one, obviously, being the fact that their coach is Bill Belichick, the greatest head coach of all time. I will fight you on that. He is. Bill Belichick is an extremely good player developer, and he's an extremely good game time manager. I think, even with stuff like not having the best receiving core, having a poor quarterback situation as of right now, he's definitely going to know how to use such an impressive defense to his advantage. And again, I think he'll be able to balance that kind of run game perfectly to where you can pass still pretty well, even with those limitations at quarterback and receiver. Having that offensive line helps out a ton. And again, with a schedule that, yes, is tough in some regards, it's also a schedule that's very winnable besides 4 or 5 games. So you win those games that are very winnable, especially for a team of this caliber with a coach of that caliber, you're in the playoffs. I mean, it's a very talented team with depth. I mean, there's a lot of depth here. A fantastic coach. The culture is great. I mean, the culture has always been great in Foxborough. It kind of was weird a couple years ago with Brady and stuff, Brady leaving and everything. But, I mean, at the end of the day, Bill Belichick's the best coach in football. It's not even close. I know there's some great minds like Andy Reid, Sean Payton, Sean McVay's up and coming, obviously. But at the end of the day, Bill Belichick beats out guys like Don Shula and, John Madden, for me, is the best coaches of all time. So, and obviously there's guys I didn't name there. But yeah, to me, Bill Belichick is the best coach of all time. I trust him to win the winnable games, especially with a roster that is this good and this deep. The culture is there. even with the positions that are lacking, I think there's a lot of upside and a lot of chances to improve there, specifically receiver. And again, quarterback, I feel like Mac Jones is their guy. I thought it was the right pick. All in all, the Patriots have been doing basically everything you can do to win since they lost Brady. I trust Belichick, and this is a team that I really like and can very much be higher and better than 14 when the season actually kicks in and goes. But that is my number 14 power rank team for the 2021 NFL season. If you guys liked the video, don't forget to leave a like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so you never miss an upload. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see all you guys in the next video. Bye-bye.